today the honor to introduce our remarkable guest, Dheeraj Vanjani of Adhaan Solutions.
So we're the cockroaches, right?
Yep, we are the cockroaches. The dinosaurs are gone, the mammals may go someday, but the
Today we are at a core team of 200 people. This is across India, managing a payroll of about 35,000 people. We always thought, यार बड़ा करें. तो अगर करना है तो let's do it with a big bang.
there are opportunities which could come in the same area. How do you decide on what to take and what not to take up?
Yeah, like for us cockroaches, I think it's important to keep an eye on every penny that you're spending. Be it north, south, east, west, knows what are we trying to achieve. I'm a fitness freak, right?
By the way, for our audience, one of the other gigs of Dheeraj is he's a certified fitness trainer. Do you think that bootstrap companies could still be created given the landscape?
Very simple code. No pain, no gain.
Hello everyone, welcome to another episode of Unicorn versus Cockroaches, the podcast where we champion the resilience of bootstrap entrepreneurs across India. This is a podcast about entrepreneurship done in the old-fashioned way. Hi, I'm Priyankar Baid, and today we are honored to introduce our remarkable guest who is a quintessential entrepreneur who has built his business in the bootstrap way, Dheeraj Vanjani of Adhaan Solutions, and he heads a leading HR company with branches across India with offerings across all the major HR verticals like staffing, recruitment, etc. So happy to have you here, Dheeraj.
Thank you so much, Priyankar. So we're the cockroaches, right?
Yep, we are the cockroaches. The dinosaurs are gone, the mammals may go someday, but the cockroaches will remain.
Thank you so much for the introduction, Priyankar. Pleasure to be here. Looking forward to the conversation.
Great. So Dheeraj, I think without further ado, I'll kickstart with the origin of the venture, right? And today it's a large venture, offices across 12 cities, 14 branches, and workforce of about 30,000 plus whose payroll and, which you manage. So, but you started as a 3-member team, right? So what's been the journey like?
Priyanka, I'll tell you a very funny story. जो मेरी job का first interview था ना, that was for a staffing company.
Okay.
And I rejected that.
Okay.
Okay. They were like, you have to go there, source manpower in this heat across Delhi. And I was like, sorry, I can't do this. For your 10,000 rupees job, I can't burn my petrol across Delhi. And I rejected that offer. But 2010, I packed my bags, go to Ahmedabad, and we start journey with Adhaan Solutions, Bhavna, my sister, and me together. With a team of 4 and a swanky rented office, we never thought of, starting it with a small space or making it a proprietorship company. We always thought, यार बड़ा करेंगे. तो अगर करना है तो let's do it with a big bang. So proper office which can accommodate 30 people. Though the team was of just 4 people, me, Bhavna, and 2 other members, but it was a big start. And today we are at a core team of 200 people. This is across India, managing a payroll of about 35,000 people.
Wow.
And we are present in almost every city. Even if we do not have an office, we have our associates working there. We have our team, ground teams working there. So it's been a roller coaster ride for us. Our successes, our failures, a lot of hard work. मतलब hard work भी इतना that मैंने personally I've gone out, sourced people, done sourcing in the initial days. Early morning we used to go out at 7 o'clock at the bus stand and the chai walas everywhere to look for manpower. Even till date, if the team is struggling to source people and they need help, I am there with them out on the field sourcing manpower in the nook and corners of villages, tier 3 cities, tier 4 cities.
Right.
So yeah, it's been a great journey till now.
I think it's very interesting, that you work with the workforce, especially a large chunk of the workforce, which would typically qualify as a kind of like a blue collar workforce, if I'm not mistaken there.
Yes. So we do a lot of contractual workforce across India. Though when we started in the initial stages, it was all about the white collar workforce. But then gradually, as and when we started getting projects organically, we stepped into hiring contractual workforce which work on our payrolls. We manage the entire life cycle of an employee from hiring till the exit is our responsibility.
Okay.
But we also do the white collar recruitments, wherein we are hiring people from the bottom of the pyramid to the top of the management. Yes, we've come a long way in terms of hiring for both blue collar and white collar. In fact, just recently we have developed an HR tech platform for the white collar workforce.
Okay.
We've created a platform like an aggregator wherein you can post your requirements, and we are not just our own team will source for you. In fact, people who have registered on that platform will also source for you.
Okay.
This way, if somebody can refer a friend or a colleague who is looking for a job in any sector, we get that profile from them, and this helps us to give our clients better closure, quality closure, and on-time closures.
Right. So that's, I'm sure was drawn from an insight or something which you felt there was a need, and that kind of led to the product. When we look back at the journey, you've diversified into various offerings within the HR stream. Was there some logic to that? What was the process for that? Often we start with one area, and then entrepreneurs usually have this entire thing of, their opportunities which could come in the same area. How do you decide on what to take and what not to take up?
Yeah, I'll tell you a short story again. As I said, when we started, it was all about white collar hiring. We were working with companies like DuPont, GSWs, and all Parleys, and all good brands. One day we got an opportunity to hire people for Adhaan card. In the days when Adhaan card started, they required a lot of data entry operators across Maharashtra and Gujarat, and that's where we stepped into the blue collar hiring. And then there's been no looking back. So once we started doing that, the first payroll happened, and gradually, the company started to know about our services. They started approaching us for the contractual workforce, and that's how we built onto it. Now coming on to the other services, as in when we talk to the clients, as in when we meet our clients, we understand that there is an issue in terms of how they are managing their HR processes, or in terms of how they are managing their compliances. And that's where we started adding new services like HR consulting. There are a lot of small players, the players who are trying to scale up their businesses, but they do not understand the importance of having an HR in the system. When you are increasing your workforce, you need somebody to manage it. You can't just be going by the old way of managing your people and thinking that you will reach a level which can...
You need some systems, you need processes.
That's where we came in. There are certain clients where we stepped into their processes, we helped them build the HR processes, we helped them hire an HR team, and when the entire process was streamlined, we handed them the entire thing. And now they have a complete system in place, they're growing, and they know how to manage the HR process.
Often when we look at building capabilities, and the entrepreneur essentially grapples with कि मैं खुद करूं या किसी को साथ tie up कर लूं. There are always issues of whether the partner would bypass me through a relationship with the end client directly, confidentiality of data, all of that. So what's been your approach at building some of these service stacks?
We never thought of outsourcing any of our services. Okay. Even when we started our journey with recruitment, the first question that people used to ask us was, do you have a team or are you outsourcing it to some other third party? And it was a very simple answer that we are doing it ourselves. Even in the initial days when the team was very small, I used to go out with the team and to source people and to fulfill the requirements. We used to step in till the time the team was growing. Even now when the services has been expanded in terms of HR consulting, it's our own in-house team that does the consulting part. We had people in the system who had the capability to deliver on it, and also it gave us the opportunity to upscale our teams as well.
Right. So you did a lot of, organically you grew.
Organically, yes. Even for the HR tech platform, we realized that there are a lot of HRMS, HR tech platforms. We also were using those tech platforms, but we realized there are certain glitches, there are certain problems that we face, and we know how we can bridge that gap. Then that's when we decided to invest in technology and build our own platforms. And trust me, today both the platforms that we have, one is an onboarding software which is called Swagatam, and the other one, as I said it before in the podcast, that it is an aggregator which is called Free Jobs, are very unique in their own terms. We won't find those kind of platforms in the market as of now.
You've always been a believer of doing it in-house, and
Yes.
there is definitely a lot of value to that. You can maintain better control.
Correct.
It's the tougher part, but I do agree that it is a more sustainable part.
So, people think that why don't you franchise your services? But the kind of love and care we have for our brand, the care we have for our clients and for our associates, no franchisee would have it.
A high-touch service like your service, where there is a fairly high-touch component,
Yeah.
standardizing and getting the same experience across all franchises is going to be like prevalent.
Prevalent challenge. And one thing we always have been mindful of is that we care about our clients, take care of our associates as well. Although they are working at our client's place, but if they are not satisfied in terms of getting salaries on time, in getting their PF compliances on time, they won't be happy with us as well.
Right.
They would not want to get associated with us, right? Yes, clients are important. That's client के पास अगर हम hiring नहीं करेंगे तो हमारा काम नहीं होगा. But if the associates don't want to work with us and they don't stick around with us, then there's no point of hiring as well.
Here, this leads me to the next question. When you have a large headcount under you, and when you started the staffing services vertical, you would have had to do a lot of payroll, right? And often clients may not pay on time, or their payroll run may be extended, and that leads to a working capital issue, which often for most of the early stage companies, it's a very key issue. So how did you handle that? How did you manage that? Because when you're doing with 100, 200 people, it's still fine. But even if you're reaching 1,000, it's a substantial number there, right?
Priyankar, I'll tell you one thing, we were very lucky in the initial days.
Okay.
Our clients used to pay us before we pay the salaries.
Okay.
As and when we grew, we had clients where we fund the salaries. But irrespective of the fact that clients were paying us on time, we used to keep a track of our expenses. We had a budget in place, especially because we have a large workforce, internal workforce. So salaries become a very important part. For internal workforce is also a major expense that we have to incur. We were very mindful of the investments we were doing in the software for HRMS, or for payrolling, or for sourcing, and the follow-ups with our clients for payments was very thorough. Initial days, yes, we had challenges. I won't say we didn't find challenges. कई बार हुआ था, the first year, second year, third year. We were never going beyond our limitations. We knew where we had to put a full stop. We knew where we had to put a foot down. So no expenses beyond a certain limit.
That's a great point there. Take this time to kind of highlight this point for a lot of new entrepreneurs. We say in Hindi or even in Marwadi, I'm essentially Marwadi, that खर्चे बांधना आसान है, revenue आना मुश्किल है.
Correct.
When you are setting up a business initially, it's very important to have a really eagle eye on expenses.
True.
And wherever needed, you need to do the expense. You need to justify it in your mind and among your team. But really keep a very close track of expenses, and your financial systems have to be very strong. Even if it's in a piece of paper, at least if the report is coming in a regular frequency, you have a very good handle on how working capital is building up.
For a bootstrap company, now to with all the fundings that you have, पता नहीं पैसा कहाँ जाता है. But for us, Cockroaches, I think it's important to keep an eye on every penny that you're spending. Now we value that money. You build it up over the years, and now you know how hard it is to earn that money. If you are putting in your own money from your own pocket, you will realize that even each penny that you're spending on anything is not easy.
Yeah, frugality is a mindset, and it has to be very from the early days of the company. Frugality isn't necessarily avoiding expenses. It is about having a very clear-headed view of what to spend in and what not.
We were very sure of, we wanted to build our in-house technology, and that can be there by just spending across anything and everything. Till date, there are no debts in the company. We've not taken any loans from anywhere.
Wow.
And in true sense, we are a bootstrap company.
Yeah. I think this would probably qualify as pure bootstrap company. There's a pure veg hota hai, pure bootstrap company. So now I know that you are looking at expanding internationally. You're exploring various geographies like Western Europe. What prompted that decision? And in your experience, when should companies look at expanding globally?
One more story here.
Okay.
I think pre-COVID, we had ventured into the international market in the Middle East. At that point of time, we were not successful. So we had to shut down at that point of time. Why? Because we were expanding nationally. To be in the international market, you need to be there. You need to. So what I believe is, if you're setting up a new system or a new process or a new office, you as an entrepreneur have to be sitting there to ensure that the processes, the entire structure is there, and then you can hand it over to your people or to your team. And because the expansion was so huge in India, we could not give time international. So we took a decision that let's step back from the international market then, and we will step in when we know we are ready with the national market. We have streamlined the processes here, and then we go international. Now that we are streamlined, we have processes in the system, we have teams to work around in the national market. We have the bandwidth to go international without realizing that you have. We just jump into it.
I think that's a very good point that you make, that often as entrepreneurs we only evaluate opportunities from the upside and possibly downside also, कि क्या खराब हो सकता है. But we tend to overestimate the bandwidth which is available to us and to our teams. I think this is a great learning for anyone, that whenever we are expanding in any vertical, any geography, right, your core has to be very strong.
You'll be expanding locally as well. I feel your base, your core has to be strong enough to take care of the expansion.
Yeah. And I do believe in one thing, that we tend to overestimate the importance of speed in business decisions. I do feel that often, if it's good to take a back seat or a kind of have a solid core, before you expand in any geography or any service area also for that. Going further, in terms of, you have this, even within India, you have operations across multiple cities, and often companies, SMEs particularly, struggle with, defining a culture for their organizations, creating that bond among various branches. How has your company done that? What's probably the trick of the trade which you can share?
Priyankar, देखो यार, every state, every city has a different culture. So South is or East is a completely different market in how they work. Like North, if you come, North has a different culture altogether. So every city has a different culture. I believe you will find more professionalism maybe in Mumbai because they have time limits, aana jana. They have longer routes to cover. Delhi is more flamboyant in terms of how they work. South is more cultured. They are just bothered about their work. Again, what is important is communication. How you communicate with your teams. What you're communicating down the line. Me and my partner Bhavna, we're there sitting with them, talking to them. We travel to all the locations. We meet our people. We try and inculcate the company's vision that we have to the core of our teams. So every member, be it in North, South, East, West, knows what are we trying to achieve. And we also try and organize quarterly meets, and once a year we have a full review where everybody meets. They discuss how they are working in their region, and that's how they get along. And when we do,
you have an annual meet kind of a thing.
Yes, but we also have quarterly meets as well.
Okay.
Not quarterly meets, not everybody comes in, but certain people from each region come. They come in, they meet, they discuss their challenges, the problems. We find solutions. There have been cases when we have moved people from north to south to maybe understand their problems, and if they can find a solution. Somebody moving from north to west, west to north. It's the communication, it's the interaction that we try and have more often within the teams, and as entrepreneurs as well. We also try and have more of communication with the team.
Entrepreneurs struggle with motivating people. What in your experience has works really well? Is it just money? Is it responsibility?
It's not just one factor. There are multiple factors. That it's money, it's responsibility, it's about the growth. So in terms of taking care of families, there have been cases when we have, firstly, everybody's insured. The family, we try and ensure the families. We can fund the education if needed be. They need monetary help for their schooling or house issues, medical issues.
Got it.
So yes, we attend their functions wherever possible. And I realized that the more you know your teams, the more you know your teams personally, make them more loyal towards towards the company. And then that's when they work for, not for themselves, but then they work for the company. And when the company grows, obviously they will also grow. Monetary factor, growth factor, the responsibility, all work together. Not just one thing can motivate.
So I think now we move into the last leg of the podcast. I had a couple of things which I wanted to kind of ask more kind of forward looking right now. So one would be that in this space, and broadly the HR space, do you think there are opportunities which future budding entrepreneurs can tap into?
Priyankar, looking at the Indian economy, I think everybody, any business has opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
So you always believe it's a cake, whosoever can grab the pie. As kitna bada aapko piece chahiye, it depends upon you. You want a bigger pie, you want a smaller pie, it depends upon you. Everybody has an opportunity in this industry. But I would say any industry in India at the moment.
Any particular areas which you think, broad areas, maybe industry?
One is infrastructure. I think even the government is putting a lot of efforts in infrastructure. Then one is e-commerce. So we all know how e-commerce industry is moving at the moment. And I also feel FMCG industry.
And with so many brands now looking at offline distributions, I think definitely that becomes a key part too, right? Staffing. Right. So that leads to the second question. In this particular area, where it's essentially a services play, there could be some product play, but we're talking primarily from services perspective. Do you think that bootstrap companies could still be created given the landscape right now?
I would say yes, but what I've seen often is companies starting in last few years.
Mm-hmm.
People think it's an easy industry to come in, hiring करनी है, क्या करना है, मतलब और तो कुछ करना नहीं. As I said before as well, any company, any bootstrap company, we need to be mindful of what we are doing, right? The new HR companies, they're starting up at a small scale. They're not truthful to their businesses. The idea is to earn in a short period of time.
Right. Irrespective whether candidate fits in, meets the client's requirement or things like those or not.
Either compliance or the sourcing. What we need to realize is it's a long run, and we need to be patient. You can't just jump in everywhere, and eventually you will lose it. Yes, bootstrap companies can still work around, but it depends upon how you build your company, the culture, the vision that you have.
Integrity, of course, is in any business. I think integrity is it's non-negotiable because ultimately people, especially India, is a very trust-driven society, right? So if you break that trust, it's essentially the name kind of goes wrong. Right? Coming to the end now, I think this has been a very fascinating podcast purely because of the nature of the industry, right? We often don't tend to. It's not an industry which gets a lot of spotlight typically, right? And we keep hearing about this entire number of jobs that India needs and the high number of unemployed people who are there within our society. What do you think? And you've seen that space closely, right? So what do you think is maybe one or two things which generally can be done to plug that gap?
Yeah, that is skill upskilling of the people.
And you're talking of one is of course technical skill, whatever is needed. Or is it more general?
I don't think the jobs are not there in the market. We have enough jobs there in the market. It's about matching the right job with the right person. That's where the fitment is not happening. The upskilling needs to be done.
Yeah, that is a challenge. I think it's been, even in our tech industry, it's been a big challenge.
There's enough manpower available in the market, right? It's the right fitment that is not there.
Before we end the podcast, this is a question which I ask to all my guests. One quote or one saying that really lingers with you, that really with your view of life.
So I'm a fitness freak, right?
Yep.
So for me,
by the way, for our audience, one of the other gigs of Dheeraj is he's a certified fitness trainer, right? And many of us have used him, and I can vouch that he is one of the best. Obviously, you need to. The thing which is most lacking that he doesn't have time right now. By the way, he's a great fitness trainer. Yeah.
Thank you. So for me, very simple quote: no pain, no gain. Every entrepreneur goes through that journey.
Right.
We're baked under the sun. We're baked under the blood, sweat. If you're not doing the real hard work, you're not getting there. You're not getting the real value of where you want to be. So we all go through that journey of putting in the hard yards, and eventually we achieve that goal.
So on that really deep note, that ultimately it's about no pain, no gain, right? I would like to thank Dheeraj for for sharing his insights and for sharing his journey with our listeners. Thank you, Dheeraj, and to our listeners who like the podcast, do subscribe to it and keep coming back for more inspiring stories which don't get covered in the mainstream media, of ventures which have been built in the old-fashioned way. Keep trying, keep working, keep getting better every day. Adios.